Frank and April Wheeler are a normal suburban couple in the 1950s that are desperately trying to hold on to their individualism, trying to fulfill their sort of youthful dreams of leading an interesting life, and inevitably fail to do so within the process. I think Frank is an entirely unheroic character, which I felt very excited about playing, frankly. I think that if there's any hero in the movie, it is Kate Winslet's character, April, because she's the one that's willing to sacrifice everything for a more interesting life. And I'm happy sort of conforming and being a product of my environment.
What does the notion of moving to Paris represent to the Wheelers and to those surrounding them?
Paris represents this dream that they have of a different future for themselves. And I think they're very narcissistic people at the end of the day. They're very self-indulgent in the sense that they feel like they don't have enough, and they don't really look at what's right in front of them. And this idea of leading this sort of bohemian existence away from the conformities of 1950s suburbia is what they feel will make them happy. And ultimately, I feel they're doomed for failure anyway because they have the wrong intent from the start. So, to me, Paris represents this amorphous dream that could or could not be a reality, and most likely isn't.
Who do you think people will relate to more, Frank or April?
Depends on the person. I mean, it's very much as much as it is about two people, it's also about the environment of the American housewife at that period of time, and it depends on, I suppose, the generation. If they understand how, a lot of women at that time period were forced into these roles of staying at home and cooking for the family and being a jolly, sort of Stepford wife, and how that drove a lot of women to prescription medication at the time. Yeah, but at the other hand, Frank is a character that in the beginning of the film cheats on his wife with his secretary, the most typical thing you could do at that time. And ultimately, towards the end of the film is desperately trying to salvage their relationship. So it depends. I think throughout the course of the movie, the sympathy is sort of shifted from one character to the other.
Why do you think that the themes in this book and film remain relevant today?
I feel like what it ultimately meant to me was in the pursuit of happiness, we kind of don't realize what we already have. And that's relevant and timeless throughout time. It really is. I mean, it became less and less to me about the 1950s. It became less and less about the backdrop or the set piece of where they work or the time period and what it was like culturally. It became about two people, ultimately falling short of finding their happiness.
Michael Shannon really shines as John Givings. What does his character bring to the world?
John Givings is kind of the conduit of truth that comes into our idyllic American household and rattles our foundation. He basically tells us, I'm glad, here's a great line, he says, you guys see the hopeless emptiness of it all. I mean, he really has a bleak view on the future, but he also is pinpointing the fact that when we don't have the courage to escape our surroundings, that we are in fact kind of corrupted people, and he exposes that, and it results in a tight, sort of this horrible confrontation between our two characters, Kate and I.
What do you hope that audiences will take away from this?
I don't know. I never like to determine what an audience will take away from any project, because you never know. There's so many factors that come into play when making a movie. It's always the interpretation of the viewer, and I think that's sort of a sanctity that needs to remain in place. I hate telling people what they should feel at the end of a movie.